You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 306. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, author of How to Get On Podcasts, the podcast matchmaker, and CEO and founder of the MLG Collective. I'm excited to share the stories and life lessons of changemakers and authors with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey, Steph.
Hi, how are you?
Great, now that I'm chatting with you.
I know, I'm so excited to get to talk to you. My voice is a little better this week.
Still sexy.
Yeah, or something. Yes. How have you been?
Good, busy. And by the time this airs, we will have gotten to meet in person for the first time.
I'm so excited. I'm almost scared to believe it's going to happen just because I feel like every other day life brings something up and it's like, oh, nope, oh. So
it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I'm so excited.
I know. I can't believe it. Oh, I just got a little stomach flurries. We get to finally meet in person.
Exciting.
I'm so stoked. We'll have to do a full episode the following week about
recap
this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. The LA Times Festival of Books. I'm so excited.
Yes.
It'll be good. I've never been. Have you been?
Nope. Never been.
Okay. I'm excited.
Me too.
The 30th. Looks like it does look like it's supposed to be rainy on Saturday, which I'm a little bummed about because I think a lot of the booths are outside, aren't they?
Yeah, I was a little concerned. So I was thinking about what am I going to wear and, how do I, because I'm only coming down for the day.
Yeah.
So I actually ordered a new backpack.
Good.
So that I can equally balance, backpack and have an umbrella and a tripod and all of the things that I think I will need. We shall see if I use them.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I am so excited. It'll be a fun weekend.
It will be. It better be. No.
Yeah. Have you been to many book festivals before?
Maybe 2.
Okay. Which one?
Yeah. I did the Louisville one.
Okay. Yeah.
But that was indoors in conference hall, convention center type thing.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Writers Festival, which wasn't really book festival, but it had that still component to it for San Diego.
Yeah.
So yeah, those have been really it.
That's so fun. That is so fun. I've been wanting to ask you this question. What is the book or the books that really got you into reading? What started your journey of loving to read?
If we go back to childhood, it was the Babysitter's Club.
Yeah.
And I would say that was a love for reading and then I want to launch my own business.
Nice.
Which is funny.
I love that.
Because I tried. I was like, I am Christy. I can totally do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah. I love that. And then I did, it started in 8th grade. As I was going into high school, I did honors English. And in order to qualify, you had to read this stack of books over the summer. So I can see the covers in my head. What's the one where the kids are on an island and they're trying to escape and it's like a free for all?
Oh my gosh. Why did the name just escape me?
It just left me.
Absolutely no.
Yeah.
Lord of the Flies,
Watership Down.
Yeah.
All of those books were things that I wasn't reading before. And I was like, oh, this is really good stuff.
Do you remember? Sorry. Keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you remember a book that really impacted you, that just really grabbed you besides the Babysitter's Club, when you were that was really meaningful in your high school journey? Or
everything. I love those ones, like I said, the ones like Watership Down, Lord of the Flies. They intrigued me because it wasn't stuff that I was reading. Babysitter's Club is totally different, genre wise, and I find myself reading. I stay kind of not so much in a lane per se, especially with the podcast, interviewing so many different authors, but I definitely sway more towards, women's lit, that kind of a thing. Memoirs, obviously a lot of those.
Yeah.
But then when I get into a true crime or, something suspenseful that I think I'm not going to like because I don't like to scare myself.
Yeah.
Then I'm pleasantly surprised.
I love that.
Yeah. What about you? What was your book aha moment?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I remember when I was younger, I read obsessively. My mom was worried I wouldn't have friends because all I did was sit and read. And then the only book I read The Boxcar Children and Babysitter's Club. I feel like I related more to Dawn, or maybe I wanted to be Dawn. I don't know. I don't think I ever felt the urge to like start my own business, but I love that. Like that is like encouraging young entrepreneurs, that whole, that was such a great series. Um, and, but there was this one book and I don't even remember who wrote it, but it was called Treasure in an Oatmeal Box. And it's heartbreaking. Like I haven't read it since I was younger, but it was about these twins and one of them is disabled, and it's like this, it's heartbreaking. It's a beautiful story, but it's like this of these siblings and their love. And it was written for like, I think it's like middle grade, it was written for younger audiences. But man, I remember very vividly sitting on the floor of my bathroom, I think, reading the end to my mom, weeping, and my mom just weeping with me. And like that powerful moment of like binding us together. Um, and anyway, and so I have like little clips like that. Like I remember reading a Nancy Drew novel and she came into a diner and she ate a piece of cold apple pie with a cup of coffee. And I remember thinking, ooh, that sounds like so perfect. Like I just already felt like it all fit together so well. And then I took a long gap. It's like I will say in high school, I loved The Count of Monte Cristo. I ended up reading that for, I think it was like sophomore English, and I loved it. It's such a powerful story. And I remember just being so engrossed. And then I did take a break for a while. And then in my early 20s, I started reading The Hunger Games, and they completely grabbed me. And the Harry Potter series, my brothers, so we were all kind of late to that. And then when I was really sick with my son, I was pregnant with my youngest. I think I've already shared this. My mom handed me a young adult like YA romance by an author named Casey West, who writes just like the sweetest YA romances. Like they're so sweet. And I'm like at 30, like 33, about to, like pregnant. But my mom had started reading romances, and she started with YA, and then like she went into YA fantasy. And I think because we had been Hunger Games, Harry Potter, and so it kind of just melded into that same like genre. And then we've like branched out so much over the years. But that's like really where it all began again, was like 2016. So I opened that first book by Casey West, and I remember I got butterflies, and I was like, it's been a long time since I felt butterflies. My husband and I had been together for a long time. We have been together 22 years as of today. Not married.
Well, happy
22 years. Thank you. Not married that long, but this is when we have been together 20. I said, you kissed me and I never let you go. Anyway, 22 years. So we had been together for a long time in 2016, and married for 10 years by that point. And you forget what butterflies feel like, and you get so caught up. And I was sick. I was so sick. My dad and Dwayne, my husband, were working on the house we're in now, completely remodeling it. We were temporarily living with my in-laws, they were so sweet. But Cooper was a toddler, and I was the most sick, and I just like couldn't eat anything. I could barely get up. And so I think my mom handed me one of those books because she had started reading along with my brother, with the Harry Potter stuff as a way to engage with him and connect with him. And then, it grabbed her, and then she started reading the romances, and it really helped her depression. Not obviously, books are not a substitute for medication or therapy, but this is a really long story. I'm so sorry. She had medication resistant depression, and reading the books just helped keep her going. And they made her like feel butterflies and feel hope and feel excited. So anyway, she's like, read this book, you're sick, you're miserable. And I will never forget that feeling. And then I I couldn't get enough. I went deep into YA for a long time, and then I started spreading out. And then now, years later, I'm really into like literary mysteries and like more like just really character driven dramas. And, but I still love a good romance and thrillers. So there's lots of them. That was a really long answer to your
Yes.
question, but that's my whole story
I
about
love
how I
it.
wrote
We
that.
get to know you even more as you share all of these little
Yeah.
tidbits.
I mean,
Yeah.
books have been so impactful. They have helped me with my depression. They've kept me going at times. And I will say this, when I was reading them, I hadn't read any books that dealt with people with like chronic illness. And that's one of the things YA is really good at, is especially now, is bringing to light differences,
Mm-hmm.
helping teens feel seen. And I think that's so important. I mean, everybody deserves to be seen, right? Whether they're an adult or younger, but um, YA authors are really knocking it out of the park in terms of just like with their diversity. And I just remember feeling like that was just so healing to see some of my own struggles in a book. And, and then you think about that as a privileged white woman who I've seen myself in everything, right? Like, so that sounds silly to say that I saw myself in a book, but I saw the difference. I got really sick in my 20s. I spent my 20s sick. So at that point, I had kind of diverged from my peer group, and it was very lonely. And then to see myself in a book, and then that's when my eyes kind of opened, was like, this is why diversity is important. It's like, it is, because everyone deserves to be seen and heard. But I think when you are used to seeing yourself, you don't realize the pain of not seeing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, and that's such a tragedy. I didn't realize. And then I looked around and I was like, oh, this is why diversity is important. This is why, we need authors of color and LGBTQ and just all different walks of life, disability and illness and everything, just so that people feel seen.
Yeah.
And anyway, that was a really long welcome again to my TED Talk. This Wednesdays are becoming Stephanie's TED Talk time. Michelle is going to fire me soon.
You can't be fired. You don't get paid.
This is true. This is true. She's going to be like, I think I'm booked next Wednesday. Anyway.
I love it though. And you're totally right. It reminds, not to bring in today's nasty world, but I feel like a lot of that is, if it doesn't happen to you, like it doesn't matter to you. And now suddenly we're seeing more and more of what's going on in the administration happen to more and more people. And suddenly,
Yes.
oh, I do care. And yeah,
Oopsies.
you should have cared before, but
Yeah.
okay, better
Yeah.
late than never for
Yeah.
some. And it's funny because for YA, I never really read YA like per se. It's kind of a newer genre, so to speak. And it's been, I have a client that wrote YA, and I got so into it. And I
Yeah.
went, oh, this isn't really like for younger people. I'm thinking younger,
Yeah.
n- like
You think
hasn't
writing
experienced life.
literary,
And
like intelligence, and a good YA is written for all ages.
yes,
It's the age of the characters are younger,
yeah.
and that's really, but a good YA should be able to reach people at all ages.
Yes. Yeah. And it was one of the most beautiful books ever. Run Away with Me by Brian
Ooh.
Selznick.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to read it.
So good. Yeah, it just came out
I love
this
that.
month. Yeah.
Okay, I'm writing that.
It's about two gay teen boys who
Mm.
are in Venice. I'm going to get this totally wrong and butcher it, and I shouldn't. But I read it over Christmas, so it's been a while.
Oh, book amnesia
And
is real, my friend. It is real. Does not
it,
mean you didn't love the book.
no, because there's been over 30 books in between. So yeah, it's hard to remember. I surprise myself when I can remember the plots or the characters. Like I
Yeah.
probably won't remember the names,
Yeah.
but yeah, I can remember the plot at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I have gotten to the point that it's because I am a visual learner. So if I physically read a book, I'll have an easier time remembering. But I listen to all of my books. And so I remember the plots and I can remember basic things about what I love about it. But it will be a cold day in hell before I can remember the characters' names. I just can never remember their names, especially if it's written from a first person perspective. I never remember the main characters. They're not really saying their name that much, right? And I will like finish, and then I'll be like, what were those characters? What were they? So I just get so nervous. And when I talk to authors, I have to be like, write a sticky note down. Like, what were they? Because I loved the book, and I remember how it made me feel, and I remember what it did for me. And I know I want to share it with the world, but I do not know who those people were. I don't know.
But I think that's okay.
I think
They
that's okay.
recognize that you did read the book and you felt something for it. So I think that's all that matters. At least I hope so, because otherwise I'm screwed. So what else? What is new in your world?
Not much. Okay. I say not much. A billion things. I've talked to you before about how I'm trying to get this series off the ground where I go deliver different heroes of the book world pies and sit down and chat with them. And my husband's really excited to come on board and like film for me because I love that I thought I could do that all by myself. Like, oh yeah, I'll get the lighting and the angle and the camera and the sound and everything, and then have a meaningful conversation, then go home and edit it all while making the pie. Like, I just love that I thought that was gonna happen. And he's like, no. And so we did a tester run. It wasn't a tester run because it was something I wanted to do, but it was the first time we had gone out doing something like this together, and we delivered some pies to our local libraries. And he has such a good eye. He's such a good like videographer. And so that was exciting to see. And so I'm excited. We're trying to get in the works, and I'm hopeful to kind of get that rolling this weekend. And we'll see where that goes. But I'm in this place like you where I just feel like books are everything right now, and like we were talking before, empathy is not a lot of people have it. And it's very easy to become selfish and think that if it doesn't affect you, it doesn't matter. And reading changes that. Reading breeds empathy. Reading breeds understanding. It helps you see into a perspective of somebody else, and that's why reading diverse books by about characters who are nothing like you is so important, because it helps you understand what people feel, and anyway, all that to say, I think we can all agree we need that. We need that more than ever. And with the book bans and the loss of funding for libraries and, the independent bookstores struggling, I think now more than ever, I just want people to know how much their work matters. Not that me giving them a pie is going to make a world of difference, but, I just want...
It's appreciated.
I want them to know that they're changing the world. They really are heroes. They're doing amazing things. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. So you're bringing pies this weekend?
I am. Just 2, maybe 3.
One for us to eat?
No, maybe we'll see how
maybe 4 because Michelle's hungry.
Not today, Michelle. Okay. At first, I was like looking at all the different book vendors that have booths, and I'm like, what if I could make a little mini pie for each booth? And I was like scrolling, and I was like, that's not going to happen. It's a nice thought. What's going on with you, Michelle?
Just a lot of work, a lot.
I love that.
And I mean, that's in a good way. Not like, yes. I'm just like work.
No, but you're thriving. Tell us about it. I want to know.
So new clients onboarding, which means that if there's an author involved, I have to read their book, and, author interviews. So of course it's like 15 books at one time. If you could look at my Goodreads and the currently reading, it looks like I'm a hot mess.
Well, that's all of us. Yes. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. That's how it should be.
Yes. Yesterday I did a webinar for the Authors Guild.
How was that?
170 people showed up.
That's amazing.
And luckily I didn't look at that part of the screen because I was sharing it. So I saw the presentation part and I was just talking to myself. And then afterwards, the guy who was running it was like, yeah, there were 670 people. And I went, oh. Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. Yes.
So that was good.
I love that.
Yeah, next week, field trip. And I'm like, but then I have an opportunity to possibly also go. And the opportunity is, do I just do it to go to DC
Yes. What is
and
it for?
to interview the Senate women Democrats?
Why is that a question? Why aren't you going? Why aren't your plane tickets booked?
It just the opportunity just came in before we started recording, and
Okay, so you've had 2
yeah,
minutes to think about it. All
yes,
right. Okay.
literally, I jumped on. I told my husband, Ted's like, well, Southwest has a sale. That's literally, that was his reaction. And then
Yeah.
I went on Southwest, and I was like, there's 3 airports in DC. And so I threw all of them in. Now I'm like, okay, well, which one, and when would I need to get there? And, it's coast to coast. So you got to leave a day early. And then it's, okay, well, then do you leave right after the event? It's really not that dual. Like, it is, it's
Yeah.
possible. Or do you possibly see who you can meet for dinner and then leave the
Exactly.
next day? And it's actually cheaper to leave the next day. So
Yes. That's always
I
my
don't know.
advice. I keep my work trips very short just because like kids,
Yeah.
responsibilities, you got to get home and we both work from home, so, I keep my work trips really short. But I do always recommend leaving room like after an event. Like I don't like leaving like the evening of, because it's like you never know what will happen, right? You just never know what could happen. And so
Right. So
you
thanks
want
for
to leave
saying
that.
that as I'm leaving this weekend on Saturday night and going, oh, maybe I should have stayed, but it's okay.
Maybe you should
Because
have.
well, it becomes chaotic. You come
It
home
does.
on the next day, and then it's still the weekend, and mom life, like that's when I do my laundry for the children for the week.
Yeah.
Otherwise we have no
Sunday's a major
uniforms, and
catch
it,
up day. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. That is so exciting. So when would that be? Like
that
in the
would
next
be
next
like,
week?
yeah. Like
Oh,
I would
okay.
fly on Tuesday, which I'm supposed to
Oh,
be at a field trip. And then I went, okay, well, it becomes this whole mess of, well, if you do it, do they have a replacement parent to go on the field trip? And can I not? And so,
that's hard. And it's so hard balancing the weight of mom guilt with that. When I know from what you've told me, your kids will be very, very proud of you for going to do this because they are such champions of you and your work I love that you include them in your, not only your podcast work, but your political work. Like you're like, hey, this is what I'm doing to try to change the world. And so I know they'd be very proud of you, but it is hard as a parent because you don't want to miss those moments too. And so
do you
it's
want to know what
tricky.
Katie says? And it cracks me up because I'm like, you are so full of baloney. She
What?
goes, mom, that you're famous. And I go, well, I'm not famous. I am not famous. Like, come on now. She goes, yeah. And do you know what that makes me? It makes me a Nepo baby.
She's so cute.
She is like, I'm embracing it. I'm a Nepo baby. I go,
I
but
love it.
neither of us are famous, and you are
Yeah.
not getting anywhere anytime soon based on what I have done. So please stop referring to yourself as a Nepo baby.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love that so much. She's a
Uh-huh.
Nepo baby. I love it.
She wants to be one. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Oh my goodness. That is hilarious. That
Yeah.
is hilarious. Well, I am excited for you. I'm proud of you. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. We'll see. Yeah, of course it's in a signal chat. So
Oh.
um,
Mm. Is
move
Pete
over,
invited?
Pete. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Pete is not invited.
Don't let
Although
Pete on
you
the
never
thread.
know if all of a sudden
Pete will
Pete's going to
add his
show up.
pizza guy onto the thread, and that's not what we want. I mean, the pizza guy is probably more trustworthy than Pete. What we really want is Pete not on the chat.
True. So
Yeah.
true.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Oh,
cool.
what a
That's
mess.
amazing.
Yeah,
If
we'll
you,
see.
we've talked about this, but I want to ask again. If you could interview, like pick one person to interview that you would like to be dying to interview right now, not like living or dead, like someone now.
Mm, I still want Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I still would love
I
her.
think you're going to get there. I think you're going to do it.
But and there's just so many people right now doing such incredible work and who have been through so many things. Like, the list is so long. Oh, Pete Buttigieg. Like, give me
Oh,
Pete. I
can we
would.
talk about that, Pete? Can we talk about how much we love that, Pete?
Yes.
It's like my crushes
Yes.
go Jonathan Bailey, Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Neither can I have. And I am very happily married, and Pete's happily married. And Jonathan is.
And Pete wouldn't be into you. Sorry.
Neither would Jonathan. Both wonderful gay men who would never love me that way. And that's okay. But I love them dearly.
His intelligence and
his kindness.
Quickness. Yes. He's
the perfect combination of intelligence and then compassion, empathy, like doing the right thing. Like that's not the right thing to do, and it is encouraging to hear someone say like, this is the right thing as a human being to do. I will never forget, was it that when in his debate with Biden, where they said, are you going to use like President Biden's, his son's stuff against him? And he said, no, or how do you feel about that? He's like, he said, that's not about the presidency. And that's not about, the man he is. And that's a personal, I'm butchering it, but he just handled it with so much integrity. And I was like, Pete.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love Pete.
We just need a little switcheroo. Just switch the Pete's.
Yeah, and then put Pete higher up.
Pete, I don't know that, our Pete would want the position that Pete Hegseth has, because he wouldn't, I don't think, want to work under the current regime.
No. He should run the regime, but we'll see what happens.
I think he has a good shot for presidency. I would just really love to see a woman, but I think he has a good shot.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens the next 4 years, who comes out. Because I think we've got some, Chris Murphy is doing a great job speaking out. I'm very impressed by Van Hollen for going down to El Salvador. I think Robert Garcia, he's a representative from Long Beach, he's been speaking out. And it's really, to me, it's encouraging to see these names and for them to become household names.
Yeah.
For so long, we knew who the president was, and like that was it. And people didn't even know who their senators were, let alone congressmen. And, now it's like we're getting to know who reps are from other states.
Yes, which I think is one of the big bonuses of social media. Now, there's a lot of things about socials, especially for younger kids and teens and stuff, that I, could rant about all day. But things like TikTok, I think it's taken the news from the hands of the power brokers in the media to the people. And you've got people like Under the Desk News who are just reporting.
V.
Yes.
I love V. Oh, we're going to tell her a shout. We're going to tag her in this.
Yes. Love V.
Yeah. V will definitely,
she is who I go to for.
When they come into my DMs and acknowledge something that I've posted, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen the new dog, Rita?
No.
Like totally different tangent. Yeah, they got a dog. They got a dog named Rita, and she's like a little dachshund. And so there's updates too. Like here's the crap of the world news today, and Rita discovered the fireplace.
I was just watching V last night, and I didn't even see a dog.
Maybe Rita didn't make it last night, but
I need to look for
Rita. Has been yeah. Rita's adorable. Totally sidetracked. But yes, V is amazing.
Fantastic. And she's just a great example of what is possible with TikTok. And then you've got people like Pete coming onto TikTok and being like, hey, or just different representatives. And they're smart if they do that. Now, obviously, anyone could use that for manipulation. Like that's possible. And, always do your research. Don't just listen to something that sounds good. Vet everybody, even if they're on your side. I think that's my number one complaint. Okay, well, I have a lot of complaints, but my number one frustration is when people aren't even willing to criticize their own team. Like you need to vet everybody, because everyone is capable of going off in the weeds and letting their own selfishness or their own power or their own, perspective, like kind of sway them from the ultimate purpose. And that should never be okay. We should always hold our leaders accountable, and we should be free to criticize if we're like, what just happened? Why'd you do that? And I think it's really dangerous. And our country really has gotten into a like right or wrong mentality. Like if you're, if you side with one side, like you'd never see any wrong there. And that's not okay. I think that's one of the reasons I like Jon Stewart so much, is because he kind of just like shoots down the hip. He's like a Democrat, but he's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, what are we doing here? And he's pretty clear on his criticisms. And I think that is what America is supposed to be, in a lot of ways. And So always vet everybody you see, but it is really amazing getting to see these representatives and different people come on to the platforms and actually speak directly to the people and say, hey, this is what's happening. This is how I feel about it. Because so much of that stuff got lost in the politics of Washington and none of us ever saw it. We just, like you said, heard from the main leaders, heard from the president, and whatever news source you watched would report. And so the ability to like sit down at the end of the day and have V, update us on everything that's happening for the day,
Right.
All the stuff that's going on. And I just think it's really powerful and really, really important.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about AOC, Jasmine Crockett,
So
the
many
badass
different
females that,
amazing.
are out there doing this work.
I am a mess today. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I agree. We should be able to criticize. And I think that all too often we look at our politicians and all we do is criticize. I am a big fan of, I feel like, and I tell some of our local politicians, I'm like, I will praise you and I will criticize you. You are like a child or a dog. This is the way I train you. I will let you know, you're not just going to hear from me when you do something I don't like. You will hear from me when I agree with you, when I say good job. I will praise you just like I will my children, but then I will also reprimand you.
Yes, as you should. I think we should be like that with every human in our lives, because that is being truthful. And I think that is like how you really love somebody. And obviously it looks different in whatever relationship you're in, but to blindly, I don't think it's ever a good idea to blindly side with whatever party you've been a part of, whatever faith you've been a part of, whatever. You don't just blindly go into things, and you can never write anybody off carte blanche and be like, everything they say is safe, because then you miss it when they go into the weeds, or hopefully they don't. But I just think that's, kind of bringing it back to one of our first conversations about like the Ruby Frankie thing. That's when you question everything. And I can be kind of cynical, obviously, in that way. But I think I always want to believe the best, but I'm always like, is that good? Is that bad? How do we feel about that? And I agree. We got to praise the good things that are happening, encourage those, shout those out. And then also, be like, oh, I didn't love that. I think that's really important.
And imagine if we all did that, especially with our politicians, like it might actually have more people running for office, because I look at what our politicians go through, and I've been on town halls where you have constituents who like the politician who rip them a new one because they didn't like that they didn't show up in this city instead of this one. And what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to,
I would
that
hate
be my
to be a
daily
politician.
job.
Yeah, I would hate that.
Oh,
yeah.
No, thank you. And so I take that as a reflection of, okay, how would I want to be treated if I was in this position? Well, I want you to let me know when I've done good too. Yeah.
Right. That should be how we treat everybody, right? Like, how do I want to be treated in this position? If I'm really going off the rails and potentially doing harm, I want someone to tell me, and you don't have to be a keyboard warrior mean about it, like you don't have to, you can communicate how you need to communicate with people, but then also, be encouraged and supported for the things you're doing right. Let people know your work matters, that you see what they're doing. I think that's a really valid point, Michelle, to not, because we do hear so often, like call your senators, call your,
complain about this,
how
tell
upset
them.
you are.
Yeah.
But like, what if you also called when you felt like something really good happened and you just want to be like, hey, thank you for that. I appreciate your work there. I think that would probably be huge in terms of morale.
Yeah.
And boosting. So I love that. Such a good point. Good reminder.
Yes. So everybody go call your reps, like give them a little clap if they've done something good.
Yes.
There's a whole host of them that are not doing good right now. So you can still complain for them. But, maybe for some of the good Dems, let them know you appreciate them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Now that we've given you all homework.
Yep.
Until next week.
All over the map.
Yes,
today,
we have.
Once again, all over the map. And
next week, our friendship is on a new level. So get ready for what that recording will be like.
Who knows? Who knows what you will be in store for? I think you should be warned that it could be pretty amazing.
We've warned y'all.
We warned you.
Until next week.
Okay.